All right, welcome back to All Things ETH. My name is Aaron, and on this channel, we talk about all things Ethereum. We talk about projects, NFTs, play to earn, DeFi, and price. And today, guys, I've got an interview with DrakeOnDigital. We're going to be talking about Friend.Tech, but we're also going to talk about what it's like to be a faith-based person or a believer in Jesus in this space. And I'm just going to pick his brain about that. He and I share that in common, so I wanted to bring that up as well. But with that, let me introduce DrakeOnDigital to my family here and I need to put him up on the camera. We don't have him up yet, so hold on one second. Make sure he is here. Add to... There we go. Oh,
I'm on.
We have you, but we have a weird guest in the middle, so we're going to get rested. There we go. Awesome. Awesome.
It worked?
Welcome, Drake. Thank you for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Dude, it's an honor to be here. How do you want me to address you? Like, do you want me to call you ATE? Like all things ETH?
Hey, I call myself out. I'm doxed. My name's Aaron, and so thank you for asking. That is a little bit weird.
You know what? You know what? I kind of stalled out, and I probably didn't even hear you say it.
No, you're good.
I guarantee you said, "This is Aaron with All Things ETH," and I'm like,
it's all good, man.
His name was?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. That's some people know me by Aaron, others by ATH or ATE or whatever it is, and yeah, it's funny. I have my pastor at church calls me Azza because he's Australian, so I go by that as well.
Azza. So Aaron, like in the Bible, right?
Yep, 100%.
There you go.
Mouthpiece of God, man.
Attaboy.
Awesome. So, Drake, please introduce yourself. I mean, a lot of my people in my channel, actually, I grew my channel in 2020 and 2021 through Axie Infinity. And so a lot of people that are watching or will be watching might be from that era. I've definitely got a lot of DeFi people here, but man, you have way more subs than I do. I think I'm at like just over 2,000 and you're creeping up on like 35,000 subs right now. So please introduce yourself. I'd love to let my audience know about you.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't address them as my subs. They're our subs. We're all a family. So
let's go. That's awesome.
That's how I address everyone that is on the DrakeOnDigital channel. We're a family. Like that's who we are. That's kind of how my channel came about. Is I was watching BitBoy. I was watching. Can't even remember his name anymore. What is it? BitBoy, Banter, Superman, and there's a couple of others. I don't even know if they're still here. I know well, actually, I think BitBoy's in jail now.
Yes,
but basically,
so.
I was watching these different channels, and I was just getting pumped and dumped on. And like, it was one of those things. I was first getting into crypto, and I didn't know where to go. And at the time when I got in, crypto YouTube was the thing. I wasn't even on Twitter at the time, so I didn't even know what crypto Twitter was. I didn't even get into Twitter until about a year ago, and I was just kind of like, well, this guy said buy this coin, buy it, pump, dump, and it was like, okay, this is trash. So at that point in time, I was like, all right, well, if I was coming into the space and I watched this, I would leave immediately. So I wanted to change that. I kind of wanted to document my journey, share the mistakes, and kind of be that person who is like, hey, look, you can do this too. Here's some information. Here's what I learned. These are the mistakes. You probably don't want to make these because you'll lose a bunch of money like I did. And that was kind of how it stemmed into moving into a DeFi channel, still sharing the mistakes. It's always going to be about what I've learned and these experiences I can share with you guys, so you guys can learn from my mistakes. And if you guys make mistakes too, I want you to share them with me. That way I can learn from your mistakes. I want it to be a platform where people can learn from each other and have a place to go where first, is they're getting started into crypto and they don't know where to go. My channel, our group, this is the place to go to. Second is like, okay, well, once I'm in this rabbit hole, now where can we play? What can we do? Well, as a community, we chat with each other, we talk with each other, and we share the different metas and the different narratives that are going on in the game. So it's a place you can go to stay ahead of the game. We aren't a news station. I mean, we can talk about news. We can talk
Right.
about what's going on, but who cares? Like one day, China's banning Bitcoin. The next, they're saying, "Oh yeah, Bitcoin's the next best thing," or PayPal is like, "Oh yeah, Bitcoin is trash. You should never mess around with it." And then they're getting into it. And then the government, SEC, it's just like,
Yeah, there's plenty of channels out there that talk about news on the daily. I mean, a big supporter of me has been Cryptos R Us, George over there.
oh,
He's had me on
George is
his
cool.
channel, which is awesome. He doesn't do interviews, so I get to make some content for him. We had DeFi Friday going on for a couple months, and that was really fun. Super honored to create some content for him. But yeah, he's basically a news channel, right? He talks about Bitcoin, talks about Ethereum, talks about some altcoins, but in general, he's talking macroeconomics. That's a machine over there. I'm one guy. He's got a research team that's feeding him information. Nothing against that, man. He's got a great mind himself. Going on, I think like 5-6 years of YouTube, solid, like full-time YouTube for him. So he's got it down, right? And his personality shows through. But man, I'm just a guy that's interested in DeFi, really. I mean, I got in through Axie Infinity, but I really stuck with the DeFi side of it when they started introducing LPs and being able to make some APR off of AXS versus ETH LPs. I really got into that and found myself yield farming as much as possible, getting those percentage gains, which were way outpacing obviously TradFi and fiat currency stuff. So how did you get into the DeFi side?
So, man, DeFi was one of those things that kind of came about because first I was altcoin. Like I would talk about these different altcoin projects, break them down, go into the tokenomics, go into the details. And even when you went into all of that, you still couldn't predict what the token was going to do because there's a chance of an exploit. There's a chance of the team literally just saying, "Oh yeah, we're rugging. Like this is it. We're done." Or like one for me, for example, this one I'll never forget it. There was a token called DMM governance, and basically it was like a real world asset thing to where basically this token was a revenue share token to where people would take vehicles and they would be able to get a loan against them, and the loan that they were getting with the vehicles, that yield would go to the DMM governance token holders, and they can at least vote and say, "Hey, look, we should take on this vehicle, we shouldn't." But all in all, to go into it, like that was the thesis and that was the narrative on it. Tim Draper was invested in it. It was going to be the next big thing. And then one day they woke up with the tweet and said, "Yeah, we got a letter from the SEC. Token goes to zero immediately." It's just stuff like that. In reality, nothing happened. What happened was it was getting close to, hey, look, we need to rotate. The narrative's ending. We're just going to rug our users. That's all
Wow.
that happened. Because what was interesting is literally before it happened, there was a 50% scam pump and then an immediate dump. So there was some inside information with, I don't,
100%.
crypto is full of it, but just things like that. So then this is where the DeFi space came into play, where they had a thing called Pancake Swap on Binance Smart Chain come out.
Yep.
And I was watching Box Mining's channel, and I saw him talking about this, and I was like, okay, well, stake your cake and earn cake, and then stake more cake and earn cake. Okay, well, I guess that makes sense. So I was playing around with it, and I ended up getting in early enough on cake to where it was like 75 cents. So I bought the cake, I staked it. I was earning like, I don't know, it was like 2,000% APR at the time. And it was constantly just rolling in. And I woke up the next day and cake was trading at $1.50. And as soon as that happened, the bug hit. And I was like, okay, well, what's going on with this? Started doing research into it and trying to figure it out. Obviously, looking back, it was kind of like, well, it was a rising tide lifts all boats with cake. It was the early days, first mover, and everyone was moving in. And in reality, a lot of these tokens, they are just sophisticated Ponzi's that depend on a newer user coming in.
100%.
It's like boiling it down like with the cake token. it was just operating based on the deposit fees, taxes,
Absolutely.
etc.
Yeah.
And that's what was keeping it propped up. And I mean, that was just kind of like the story. I think the biggest motivation was just the price action. And then it got me into it, and I was like, hey, look, you can mathematically break this down as long as there's no exploits or rugs, etc. And you can deterministically put a value on these. You can look at TVL metrics. You can look at users. You can look at the potential growth coming into it. Like an example was the rotation from Binance Smart Chain to Polygon. Like, okay, well, mathematically, we see that Binance Smart Chain got billions in TVL in it, and there's got to be some percentage. There's a greater percentage of that $1 billion that's going to go into one of these protocols over here. Now it's just a matter of picking that one instead of $1 million going into one of those protocols. It's literally able to be calculated with probabilities, and you can calculate it on a percentage basis. So then you had the rotator game going into that, but that was just a much better game to play than it was something like, hey, let's do DMM governance. They are doing something in vehicles. Like,
Yeah, you get a lot more
how can I
probability,
predict someone
right?
else is going to invest in that?
Yeah, you get a lot more probability with DeFi, right? You get to see TVL growth on. I mean, DeFi Llama is a huge tool that I use, and many other people do. Obviously, do you play a lot of the math side of things? It sounds like you got a handle on that sort of viewpoint.
So I'm not the guy who's like the calculator guy. He's a big math guy. Like he
Yeah.
cranks down the numbers. Instead, what I do is I look at it in probability. So here's an example. On Avalanche, you had a probability trade to where you had Pangolin Dex, you had Trader Joe, and I think there was, what was the other one? It was like Snow Swap or something like that. And this was a rotation of people already played Binance Smart Chain. People already played Polygon. People already played on Phantom. And once you had those 3 dexes that were on there, it was like, okay, so these are the rides to play on. Now, what's the catalyst? Well, the catalyst was Avalanche had the incentive program. So then it's like, okay, well, we got a catalyst. Now, what are the probabilities that any of these 3 different dexes are going to be chosen? Well, obviously, if you just go on a percentage basis, it's just going to be 33, 33, and 33. So once you have those probabilities, you can go based on the TVL and the market cap of the token itself. So let's say the Pangolin token is trading at 10 mil, the Trader Joe token is trading at 1 mil, and SnowSwap is also at 1 mil. Well, the same amount I would invest in Trader Joe or in Pangolin, because it's a 10 mil TVL. If I was just simply buying the token, I can do 10x less. So if I do $10,000 in Pangolin, I can do $1,000 in Trader Joe and get the same effect if it was to do similar multiples. So if it went from 10 mil to 20 mil in market cap for the token, that's a 2x. So theoretically, that would turn my 10K into 20K. But if I go on to something like Trader Joe, all I have to do is throw in that 1K, because if it's at a 1 mil TVL, and if it goes to that 20 mil, I make the same amount. So basically taking those probabilities to determine which DEX it was going to be based on the catalyst that was provided. So Avalanche had the largest incentive program. At the time, I think Phantom was like 350. And Avalanche comes out with a massive number and is like, yeah, we're going to do 800 million in incentives. And it's like, okay, well, this is going to be the game to play. We're going over there. And
100%.
then now it's just a matter of choosing the rides and then allocating accordingly. Now, where I messed up with Trader Joe, I ended up buying that at 4 cents, but I LP'd it with Avalanche. So
Oh, man.
I just had massive impermanent loss. Instead of turning, I only invested like $1,000 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of turning $1,000 into, I think at the time it would have been 100,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it would have been $100,000. Instead, what it did is I got like 10 G's.
Right.
Because all the impermanent loss from the
Just rotated into Avalanche. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, it's also a big story. Like, be dumb in a bull market and be smart in a bear market.
100%.
So do the dumbest things in the bull market, and
There you go.
make massive gains. Smartest things in the bear.
There you go. There you go. So speaking of rotation, speaking of meta, speaking of incentives, what's the biggest thing on your plate right now? What are you farming? What are you chasing after? What are the probabilities? I'm assuming it's Friend.Tech because that's what we're all
Yeah,
talking
the
about.
meta right now is SocialFi and Friend.Tech. I mean, it's almost like the concept of um, bear market, bull market. People are always going to gamble. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So like they're always going to go to a casino, and with Friend.Tech, you're able to bet on other creators. So you can kind of consider it like sports betting, but it's social betting. So instead of this case, like let's say for you, for example, Aaron, I'm looking at you. You're a young creator. It's a bear market. You're still building. You're still dropping videos. You're still dropping alpha. I'm going to take that bet. I'm going to buy this guy's key because I'm looking at it like, look, this guy's a grinder. And the speculation is, well, first you get the airdrop.
Mm-hmm.
Second is like, look, this guy is trading at $10, $20, whatever. The value he is bringing is worth at least $100, $200, $300, just putting that valuation. Again, we're
Right.
thinking in probabilities. And it's like, okay, well, I could definitely see him going up. I don't think of the exact numbers like a calculator guy does. Instead, I think of it like, okay, well, Friend.Tech, for example, let's say it was trading at 10 mil TVL. I could easily see this going to 100 to 200 mil in TVL. Well, if it's at 10 and it could go to 100 or 200, well, that means there's still growth. There's 6 months, it's month one. Okay, I can still see it continue to grow. Maybe not until month 6, maybe into like month 3, just trying to be conservative and be like, okay, well, if people are thinking it's month 6, then they might sell in month 5. Well, those people thinking month 6, but I'm selling in month 5, well, I'm going to front run those guys and sell in month 4. That type of thing goes
Absolutely.
on in my head. And of course, you are going to lose some. There's a chance like well, actually, you'll never sell at the top. But the goal is to get your principal back, let the house money ride. That way, if it goes to 0, well, it's okay. Like, you got your principal back. You played the game. You learned a lesson. And now you can be more humble next time. So just kind of looking at it like metric-wise for Friend.Tech. But bringing it back into the meta and how I see it as something that could still be used in this bear market is that this is something that people are genuinely excited about. And you have this social flywheel to where the grinders want to let people know they're grinding. Like they're networking, they're getting their name out there, they're doing their thing because they're incentivized through the trading fees monetarily and they're earning from that. So then you have them sharing their keys on Friend.Tech, which brings more users in, which other people see and they're like, whoa, I want to get on Friend.Tech. I want to be a grinder. I want to be like Hero. I want to be like OX Bread. So then they start grinding. And then they have people betting on them. More people bringing money in. Then they're like, whoa, this guy, Aaron, he was looking up to Bread. And now this man's trading at 1 ETH. I'm going to bet on me. So I'm going to come into here and I'm going to create my own key and I'm going to grind. And then you have basically this cycle down effect to where you have more and more people coming into the app itself. And of course, that grows TVL. And when you have a rising tide, it lifts all boats.
Lifts all boats. Yeah.
And then, like the airdrop, that's the catalyst. The
100%.
catalyst is the airdrop. So just like on Avalanche, the catalyst was that dev incentive program. So just kind of breaking that down.
Yeah, you need that catalyst for sure. It's what drives the meta. Especially it makes sure that you're going to have something to look forward to, right? If you don't have that, if it's too out there in the ether, people aren't gonna get invested. In Friend.Tech, it's almost guaranteed that there's going to be a pretty massive airdrop. Just looking at TVL, looking at fees accumulated. I mean, there's and then the backing
Paradigm.
from Paradigm exactly. So we're gonna have an airdrop. And they've already said it, 5-6 months out from now, there's going to be an airdrop. They're doing the snapshot is at 11:59 every Thursday. That's 11:59 UTC, right? So for me, that's about 7-8 o'clock And so every week we're trying to get as many points in, which means you're trying to buy keys, you're trying to whitelist keys, you're trying to trade as much as possible, try to comment as much as possible to get and generate those points right towards the airdrop. So what's your current strategy, Drake? What's driving the meta for you right now? Is it 3-3? Is it buying low? What are you doing specifically?
So I got a mix of a couple of things right now, but the biggest one right now is a strategic 3-3. So I already know, like, if someone buys my key, I can't just simply go out there and buy their key. Yes, there are for some users that can buy their key, but it just doesn't scale. So let's take, for example, my key starts trading at 2-3 ETH. And yes, I do have expectations for it to keep going up and climbing into those levels. But when you're looking at it, it's like, okay, well, I have some guy who buys my key. He spends 2 or 3 ETH, and his key is trading at 1/10 of an ETH. Okay, that's fine. I can do one. However, when I just have multiple people coming in that they may be trading at 7, 8, 9 ETH, and I'm trading at 3, then it's like, okay, well, how do I compensate for that?
Right.
You're just going to run into it to where it's like, okay, well, I have 100 different key holders. And if you calculate the value of all the different key holders, and let's say each of them, let's just be generous and just go on an average, they're all worth 1 ETH piece. So 100 keys, 1 ETH a piece. That means a total I would have to invest is 100 ETH into all of those guys. And now, let's say my key, for example, the guy buying my key is only trading at 2 ETH. The dude invests 2 ETH, and in theory, I'm having to invest 100 ETH. Like it just doesn't mathematically scale.
Yeah, it can't scale for sure.
So you have to be strategic about it to where you can have the additional ETH that you have go the longest way. There are going to be some people that buy into the key and join for the ride. By all means, go for it. That's fine. And I explain it to them. I say, hey, look, I can invest in your key and I can grab your key, but I'm just telling you straight up and being straight up with you, it'll be better invested into one of these larger players or into someone else who has a lot of networks, building that bridge between them and getting their users and coming into our community.
Yeah.
So I kind of explain it like, I mean, sure, if you have a huge community, I'm in. If I can build that bridge and get in with you and get in with your community, I'll grab your key. I'm in. It's a mix of that and then a mix of the smaller portion. It's where you have these smaller keys. I remember buying you in, I think it was sub 1 ETH or sub 0.01 ETH.
Yeah.
And you're stinking trading at almost 0.2 ETH now.
Yeah.
It's betting on people like that people are not looking at. Like,
yeah, I think I bought yours at like 0.05 and for the first time, and you're at 0.38 right now.
That's what I'm saying. It's just betting on these different people. Is just like looking at them and like, this guy, he's gonna do something. Like probability wise, I was like, Aaron, he's got a channel. I've seen him on Twitter. I've seen obviously this is kind of in hindsight and looking back. But after I bought your key, it was like well worth the risk or reward. I saw you grinding on Twitter. I'm like,
absolutely,
I gotta see what this room's about.
Yep.
I get in the room and I'm like, okay, well, this guy's good. And I just stayed and it was like, okay, I'm gonna bet on this guy and keep him. And
Yep.
you can do that like anyone else that are looking to get into Friend.Tech. You don't have to look at it like, okay, OX Bread is trading at 2 ETH. If I want to get in there, I'm going to lose 2 ETH. No, just buy the key, go in the room. If you enjoy it, stay. If not, leave, and then you take the 20%. Oh, yeah, it's like 20% haircut. So instead, in that case, it's only going to cost you 0.4 ETH. Now, of course, that sounds like a lot, but you go in that chat, you can look at the whole history, and you have all the alpha there. And then you aren't even factoring in the fact that if you do stay there, enjoy the information, and let's say, for example, you bought Levy when he was trading at 1 ETH, for example, you would have got all that information for free and got paid to take it because you bet on the guy early.
100%.
I look at those for a lot of these smaller creators and smaller accounts out there. They don't have to have a huge following on Twitter. What I look for is, are they in Friend.Tech or on Twitter grinding and sharing about Friend.Tech and bringing more users in? Are they an early thread org? Are they trying to bring alpha? Are they trying to bring education to the space? That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the people that are grinding. Then I get in their community and I'm like, hey, look, I love what you're doing. I'm betting on you. Let's get it. And encourage them, bring them up, and then be that guy who bets on them. Like when I was starting my YouTube channel, I didn't have anyone betting on me until when I was making these videos, people were like, oh, dude, that's great. I just learned from your mistake. Thank you so much. You're an asset to the space. Just like little comments like that. It was like, okay, I'm gonna keep grinding. I'll keep doing this. And where in reality, I could have just kept it to myself. But after I saw it was helping other people, it was like, I'm gonna keep doing this.
Yeah, that's what I love about what you do on your channel. Your just ethos in general, the way you trade, the way you present yourself is very much a champion of people, lifting people up, and I love that. Let me real quick. I'm going to show you my screen. We're going to talk about bonding curve just to help people understand what we're talking about here. I think. Let me see if I can make sure this pops up, and here we go. Can you see my screen, Drake?
Let's see.
All right.
I can't see your screen.
No, actually. That's all right. So I've pulled up like the bonding curve for Friend.Tech, and the fewer keys that you hold, and I think you tweeted about this yesterday actually. So just to refresh, where the fewer keys that people have, the lower their price, right? So there's not a certain amount of keys that a person has. You don't start with 1,000 keys. You don't start with 1,000,000 keys. You start with one key that you own yourself, right? And people buy your key, and each key that gets bought, so how many holders you have, is what the price reflects, right? So to talk about the bonding curve, though, I want to talk about if you buy low and you're betting on these small accounts, you have a much better risk to reward ratio, right? Because it only takes a couple more buyers to be in 2x range, right? With the way the fees are, you have to have both. You have to both think about the 10% sale or buy fee plus the 10% sell fee. So it only takes a couple more buyers lower down on the bonding curve to be able to profit, right? Where if you're buying somebody like Levy, he's at the top of the bonding curve. It's going to take 20 more buyers of Levy just to break even.
That's true.
Yeah. So
Good point.
Yeah, it's just interesting to look at these different strategies for Friend.Tech. If you're looking at from just a cost basis profit perspective, making sure that you buy low and sell high, obviously, but that's classic. But it's even more important in Friend.Tech. I think it's some people don't realize if they go and just buy the top, it's going to take a lot longer to be in profit because of that curve is exponential. But anyway, let's get back to being an encourager, because I think that's going to kind of string us into the next point I want to get across is, we're both faith-based guys. We both love Jesus, and being an encourager, I think, is so important in how we live our lives, right? So not only do we root for the underdog, but we're going to root for the guy next to us. We're going to honor up. We're going to honor down. We're going to honor all around. That's something we talk about a lot in particular at my church, but I don't know. That's just a bit of our culture there, and so let's talk about what it means to you to be sharing. You're sharing almost every day. You're sharing a proverb or sharing something out of the Bible, and just encouraging people to grind. Right? It's partially grind. It's partially just it's light. It's bringing light to this space, right?
Yeah. No. And everything, like it's really, that's the point of life. Like all this other stuff is all a game. Like really, it is. It's all just a game that we've been provided with. But in reality, when you zoom out, you're playing this little game. Zoom out. Like life is more than just this little game or these different games that we play. Life is like, let's take this for example. Life and our purpose, which is being fishers of men and bringing others towards Jesus, that is the name of the arcade. All these little games that we have here is like a chef, pickleball, basketball, crypto. These are all little games inside of this arcade. In reality, our goal is to bring as many people as we can to Jesus. He is the guy who well, yeah, he died on the, we can call him a guy. He was a guy. He died on the cross to forgive our sins, allowed us to make it to heaven. And without that, we wouldn't have the opportunity to go into a better place. Like in heaven, there is no sadness. There is no sorrow. There is no pain. There is no suffering. It's the meta. That's the meta in life is making it to heaven. And I think the biggest thing that I usually tell people is like, look, I get it. People are like, oh, that's a religious book. It's not right. I just say start with the book of Proverbs and then make your way down. If you enjoy the book of Proverbs, if you like that, if that makes sense, if that makes your life better, then take a look at the rest of the book. I really think you will enjoy the rest of it and it will change your life. Like just getting into it. If you are wanting to learn more about Jesus, start with the apostles, which is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Those are going to explain like the story of Jesus in the beginning, etc. And then Acts is going to talk about his ministry and spreading his word. I mean, this guy had such an impact. We still talk about him today. Christianity is, you can kind of call it the largest group we have in the entire world or community. Third is people back then, they died for this guy. Like they were martyrs. Like one dude got his head lopped off because one of them was like, yeah, we're just going to cut his head off because that's what the daughter's request was. She could have asked for anything, even up to half the kingdom. And this chick goes, yeah, I want John the Baptist's head. And it's like, really, dude? Okay. Why don't you, whatever. Just different things like that. Like these guys, it's a very inspiring story. I would recommend anyone, if they want to get started, look into the book of Proverbs. Or better yet, if you're struggling through something in life, or if you're struggling through a death in the family, or going through something like a tough time, Ecclesiastes 3 is one of the best go-tos for me. It's verses 1 to like 9. It basically explains there's a time for everything. There's a time to mourn. There's a time for peace. There's a time for death. It literally, it's good. Just get
100%.
into it. I'm sure you've read Ecclesiastes. That is my go-to. Like whenever there's a death in the family, like when my grandfather passed away, that was the go-to.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, I've been reading through the Bible, trying to do it once a year for the last couple of years, and it's just, it every time I read through something else, it changes perspective based on where I'm at, right? God meets you where you're at. He's going to speak to you. It's a living word, right? And he's going to speak to you where you're at, no matter where your mind is, no matter what's going on around you. I particularly love that you dig into Proverbs because Proverbs, I think, really speaks to the crypto crowd because it's very basic, like straightforward knowledge. It's wisdom, right? Solomon asked for wisdom from God. He gave him wisdom and he wrote down them in the form of Proverbs. And so I think your audience in particular, if you're into DeFi, Proverbs is going to speak to you because it talks about not wasting your time. Don't listen to people who tell lies. Fools are this. It's all about truth and understanding and how to navigate these sorts of business situations. Really, I mean, there's life situations, business situations, and everything in between. But I think that's great. I think that you're hitting it right on the head, putting out those proverbs on a daily basis. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for encouraging others. And before we go, Drake, I think we're just over 35 minutes now, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. I don't want to make this too long, but is there anything else that you're into currently that you want to promote? Are you working on any other projects? Are you into one specific DeFi platform that you just want to let people know about, or anything going on that you want to tell us?
So in general, the platform and the product that I want people to learn about is investing in yourself. Instead of buying other stuff, instead of looking at other things you can speculate on, the project or the token or the asset that you can invest in that will have exponential growth, that will do much better than anything else you expect, is invest in yourself. Start a YouTube channel, document your journey, share your mistakes with others, People will appreciate that, and maybe they'll start their own channel and share their mistakes with you. That way, everyone can learn. I look at this like a organic being that is learning from all these different mistakes and being able to share that instead of other YouTubers that are just like, yeah, we're going to go to 0 today, and then tomorrow, like, we're going to do 100x gains. They play on human emotions. Instead, let's learn from each other. And a way you can do that is going into these protocols, playing around with it yourself, using them, use the different protocols like Aave, learn how to borrow and lend. Do this on like a one of the side chains like Polygon, Optimism, Arbitrum. Do it on those. Use Uniswap. Try it. See it. Don't just listen to the guys who are like, oh yeah, a SEX is so much better than DEX because da da. Use it. Make your own decisions. Try a SEX, try a DEX, and be like, yeah, this one's better than that one because this and this reasoning. Go into it. Have your own opinions. You're smart. Anyone listening here is a smart person, a smart guy or a smart girl. You have a brain. Like, use it. Like, you would be blown away that most people in the world, they turn their brains off and they just listen to what's being preached or talked about on YouTube, TV, radio, whatever. They just listen to that. Instead, just turn that off, use your brain, and then you'll just be amazed. You'll be like, wow, I actually have my own ideas. And sometimes when you act on them, they end up performing better than what the other people are preaching. Why? Because it's your idea and nobody else is coming up with that idea. Sure, some people may, but that's the whole goal in investing, is getting in early. When you're doing it with someone else and looking at what they're investing in, they're already in, and they already told their other people that are following them, hey, get in, the water's warm. At that time, it's late. So I just say the best thing to do is invest in yourself, make your own decisions. And one thing that helped me is looking at things in probabilities, like we talked about in the beginning of this video.
That's awesome, man. Can you just go into detail a little bit about probabilities and how it relates to investing in yourself? If you can speak to that, it'd be awesome.
Sure. So first off, any and everything that you do is going to come from that guy above. So me, I'm just down here cooking. Like, I'm not the chef. I'm just cooking food. Like, I'm cooking up what I can cook up with the talents that I've been blessed with. But again, he is the chef. He's given the ingredients. He's given the whole recipe. He breaks it down. So going into the probabilities, if you are going to look at, let's take, for example, we're going to use Friend.Tech as an example. I just like to use examples. Looking at it at like a 45 mil TVL, if you look at the flywheel that's laid out, which is you have other users that are going to bring on other users because they're automatically incentivized to promote themselves. Like, hey, look, I'm grinding, come check me out, come buy my key. Other people are going to watch that and see that, and they're going to do it themselves because they're incentivized monetarily. So they can be like, hey, look, at first, I'm just farming this airdrop, that's all. And my stinking key is trading at 0.001 ETH. And I'm like, whatever, I don't care. But then I see Captain Levy, he comes from 0.001 ETH, and he's trading at 5 ETH. Well, why can't I do that? Like, if you look at Levy's Twitter following, now it's like 100K or something, I don't even know. But the dude he had like 500 followers on Twitter. It's not about the following on Twitter that you have. It's about how much work you're willing to put in and the hard work you're willing to go out and bring value to your users. If you're able to do that, then factoring that in, probability-wise, it's like, okay, well, currently we're at 45 mil TVL, and if we look at the total TVL and the DeFi ecosystem, it's around 83 billion. Now, if I just factor that in, the total TVL just on base chain is 350 mil. Okay, well, let's take a look at a similar protocol. NFTs, for example, Blur. This was just not even talking about OpenSea. Blur at its peak was around 150 mil TVL. Me personally, I see Friend.Tech keys 1,000 times better than NFTs. Like, NFTs, you're literally just buying a JPEG. There's nobody behind it. Whereas a Friend.Tech key, you're literally buying and creating a relationship with someone that can be used and leveraged to boost each other. Like, just think about it. I had no idea who you were.
Right.
Aaron, I had no idea.
Right.
How did I learn about you? I bought your key. And you're like, yo, dude, I watch your channel. I used to watch it all the time. I still watch it. And I was like, wow, that's awesome, man. It's an honor to have you. And we create this relationship. And now I'm on your stream talking with you,
100%.
chatting with you. Like 0x Bread, I never knew about that guy. I have no idea who he is. This thing has a PFP of a slice of bread. What does that mean? I talk with the dude. I'm in a private chat group with a couple of other whales on Friend.Tech, and it's like, these guys, they're smart. They may have like 1,000 followers on Twitter. It doesn't matter. They're doing something right. Look at the key price. They understand the game. They have the information, and you're able to create that relationship by simply just grabbing one of their keys or benefiting them in one way. Like an example is go out there, write a thread, and say, hey, look, this is how you can grow your Friend.Tech key or grow your, what is the word? Grow your Friend.Tech account. Here are 5 different ways to do it. Boom, 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 boom. Hey, if you're new to the space, here are a bunch of other Twitter accounts that you need to follow who have figured out the system and won the game already. This guy's trading at 5 ETH. Check out Captain Levy. This guy's trading at 2 ETH. Check out OX Bread. Hey, Pranksy, go check him out. He's trading at 2 ETH. He learned the game. He won. Like just going down that whole list, if you want to emulate and following, get into like the 5 ETH, 6 ETH, like on Friend.Tech, for example, copy what they did. Figure it out. Or if you say, hey, look, that was an interesting concept that guy came up with, but I think this would be even better. So once you get the ideas, once you get the concepts, at that point in time, you shut everything off, go in a room, or for me at least, I go on walks, 2-hour walks, 3-hour walks, and I just think, like, hey, how can I do this? How can I do this? I'm trying to get this desired action. What do I need to do to create that desired action? How do I bring value? If I was in this group, what would I want? Hey, man, if I'm paying $500 to get here, am I really bringing that value? Like just these different questions should be going off in your head. And if you're able to answer those questions and say, yeah, I am, or yeah, I'm trading at 500, but I should be worth 200 because change it, make it to where you're worth 1,000. So you want these people to get in there and you want to under promise and over deliver and treat other people better than you would like to be treated. So if you have an expectation to treat someone this way, like you want this guy to treat you, well, forget it. I'm going to 10x that and treat them that much better.
100%. 100%. Thank you so much for coming on, Drake. I really appreciate all of the perspective that you bring. You've been, you're a crypto OG. I mean, you're younger than I am, probably half my age, honestly. I have no idea how old you are, but I'm pushing 45.
I'm cranking up there. I'm almost 30. I'm
okay. So I'm only
I got baby face.
Yeah. That's good. I'm like 15 years older than you. But I've only been in crypto since 2020. It sounds like you've been around longer. I just appreciate your perspective, bringing us that perspective that you've been in DeFi longer, you've been in the game longer, you have a bigger following. And so thank you so much for coming on. I'm honored to have you. Advice, just to follow up on what you just said, I want to encourage everybody to just go out there and do it. Invest in yourself. You can go on your 2-hour walks, but if you come back from that 2-hour walk and you haven't done anything, you're wasting that 2-hour walk, right? You might have penned something down or you've maybe typed it out, but you have to post it, guys. You have to get on YouTube. You have to get on Twitter. You have to actually do the thing for people to notice, and don't worry about being perfect. I think that's the biggest hang up for most YouTube creators in particular. I look back at my first YouTube about 2 years ago, and it's atrocious. And I've been in the video industry. I started my video industry, video business in 2008, but I've always been behind the camera. So I put myself out there and just said, I'm going to do this. I have to do this. It's something I'm passionate about. It's something that brings life to me. Financial freedom is what I'm all about in crypto. And I think that's what you can have too if you just get in there and try things out and try to make content and grow your network. And it's all about grinding and enjoying it. If you're not enjoying it, do something else, guys. Pickleball is a great one, they mentioned earlier. So Anyway, thank you so much, Drake, for coming on. Thank you so much for all the encouragement that you give to smaller creators like myself. Just want to thank you so much, and God bless, man. You're awesome.
Dude, God bless. It's it's an honor to be here.
Cool,
really
cool.
Appreciate jumping on. Thank you for the invite, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Have a great week. Get into Friend.Tech if you haven't already. Invest in yourself, and God bless you all. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
God bless. See you guys.